How to Get Out of Debt, Stay Out of Debt, and Live Prosperously by Jerrold Mundi. This isn't about eating cat food and working harder. It's about getting out of debt once and for all. It's Back to the Black, a clear and simple program that will enable you to free yourself from debt, to stay free forever, and to bring prosperity into your life. In my case, I was $50,000 in debt when I began to practice this program back in 1984, the equivalent of $85,000 today. Had expenses of $3,000 per month and had a guaranteed income of only $350 per month from a small mortgage on a piece of property I'd once owned. How I'd gotten into that position was, I thought, due to several circumstances: the erratic nature of a freelance writer's income, a divorce, an illness, and changes in the publishing industry that resulted in a couple of career setbacks. That's what I thought then. I think differently now because of what I learned, which became the material for this book. Part 1, The Debt Spiral. Why secured loans are not debt. From a strict point of view, a secured loan is debt. It's money you owe. But there is a difference, and that difference is crucial. If things go wrong for any reason at all, and you can't repay the loan, what happens? You forfeit the property. That may be painful, but you are not obligated to pay money to anyone. Debt is any amount of cash you borrow without putting up collateral, any credit extended to you, any service you take without paying for it at the moment you receive it. Debt comes in almost limitless variations, but it's not hard to recognize once we're clear on what it is. Borrowing cash without collateral, buying goods or taking service without paying for them immediately, and falling behind in unsecured obligations. That recognition is a good start. The nature of debt, Chapter 2. Throw out all the psychological jargon you've heard about compulsion. Basically, compulsion is simply an act that is repeated over and over again. Barbara, divorced dental technician, insisted that she had to charge her son's new school clothes. He'd outgrown his old ones and she didn't have the money to pay for the new ones. She was absolutely right. He did need new clothes and she didn't have the money. But what she refused to see was why she didn't have the money, because most of her discretionary income had to be used for payments on her 2 credit cards, her department store account, and a personal bank loan, which was already costing her a total of $520 per month. These were payments on debts Barbara had incurred over the previous year. Just a single month's worth, $525, would have been more than enough to buy her son's clothes. But the money wasn't available to her. She had to pay it to her creditors. Compulsive debting means nothing more or less than that you repeatedly incur new debt despite the negative emotions and financial consequences that follow. The difference between problem debting and compulsive debting is largely one of frequency, scale, and intensity. Some people go into problem debting because of a temporary situation, such as a career difficulty, or because they don't realize at first just how steadily their debts are beginning to mount. If you're free of any kind of problem with debt, it's reasonable to pay for dinner with a credit card. To determine whether or not your debting is reasonable, there's one very simple question to ask. Are your debts causing you any trouble on any level at all? Warning signs, Chapter 3. The unopened mail. You avoid opening letters for fear of new bills or trouble with a creditor. This is the ostrich syndrome, sticking your head in the sand. The unbalanced account. You rarely keep a running balance in your checkbook. The unsent check. This is a numbers game. You pretend you have more money than you really do. It's one of my favorites. I did keep a running balance in my checkbook. What I also did, and what other numbers players do, was delay writing checks until the last possible moment. Not much down. At one time, you paid cash or wrote a check for most of the things you bought, especially small items like a purse or a Walkman. But now you charge most of them to your credit card or store account. When you purchased a large item such as a freezer or car, you used to make a sizable down payment, kicking your monthly installments low. But you don't do that anymore. Cash advances. A couple of bucks till tomorrow. You're frequently short by a few dollars, so you regularly borrow small amounts of cash from family, friends, and coworkers for a day or two. You have more than one Visa or MasterCard. You find money an embarrassing and unfit subject for conversation. You're reluctant to participate in what should be a normal discussion about money. The canceled account. A bank has canceled your credit card. A store has canceled your charge account because of non-payment or repeated late payments. You frequently dig in and wait anxiously for the next money you expect: a paycheck, commission check, contract, payment, or even a loan. You're largely ignorant of the terms of your various loans, credit card agreements, and charge accounts. You rarely write a check against the charge account or credit card balance for anything more than the minimum payment. And everyone bounces the check now and then, don't they? No, most people without a debt problem hardly ever do. I can't keep track of it all. You have only a vague idea of your various financial obligations and responsibilities. But I can't do it alone. You believe that for some special reason you are different, that you can't handle all these bills and obligations by yourself, that you need someone to help you. You're no good with numbers. You don't have a college degree. Women were never taught about money. You have a serious medical problem. Your expenses are extraordinary. Your field doesn't pay very much. You have too many responsibilities. You're only a couple of years out of school. You're too old. You're divorced and you can't make it without your husband's income. You're divorced and you have to pay alimony and child support. Any reason will do. What counts here is that you have a reason. There's something about you or your situation that makes it impossible for you to avoid going into debt. These are the common warning signs of a serious problem with debt. It's not necessary for all or even a majority of them to apply to you. Chapter 4, how we get there. No one starts out overwhelmed by debt. It begins with a little one here, another one there, and pyramids scarcely noticed or even denied until it's out of control. Sometimes the process takes years. A novelist's income is sporadic. Long periods of time frequently pass between checks. Uncomfortable as it sometimes was, it worked for a long time, about 13 years actually. I didn't know what was wrong. I didn't know how it had all happened. There was only one thing I knew with certainty. I could not borrow any more money. I could have. There were people who have loaned it to me, but though I didn't know what to do, I finally did what not to do. When you spend because you feel you're entitled, any reason on earth will do. At 35, Peggy was carrying a large debt when she began this program. At 35, Peggy wasn't carrying a large debt when she began this program, less than $3,500. She was an intelligent woman, but she had little belief in herself and no sense of self-worth. Subconsciously, she had impoverished herself as a demonstration of her worthlessness. Minimal survival was all she thought she deserved. A subconscious belief that you're worthless results in self-sabotage. You screw up jobs and lose them. You quit before your salary is increased and before you can be promoted. You're comfortable working only minimum wages. Grandiosity and spending for status are high dives into a pool of red ink. There's nothing wrong with desiring the finest and best in life, but that has to be matched realistically against reliable funds. Harriet is a freelance consultant who achieved a major income breakthrough half a dozen years ago, jumping from 40,000 to more than 160,000. Yet she's under heavier financial pressure today than she ever was before, and her total debt is much larger than it was. She frequently is so agitated by dooming creditors that she can scarcely work. She gets depressed. She's frustrated and angry at clients who are late in paying her. Yet 3 months early, with the property tax bill sitting on her desk, she had charged a $4,900 vacation in Europe. There is something inherently evil about money, right? Everyone who has it is corrupt. They're greedy, unprincipled, and insensitive. It's impossible for anyone who makes a lot of it to be ethical or a decent human being. It's cleaner, purer, and more virtuous and spiritual to live on the edge of poverty. With this one lodged in your subconscious, you don't have a chance. So, of course, you're going to keep yourself in debt and out of money if to any degree you believe, as many do, that money is the root of all evil. It's a cleaner, purer, more virtuous, and more spiritual thing to do. Actually, no one ever said that money is the root of all evil. The biblical phrase in the book of Timothy reads, the love of money is the root of all evil, and the word love is used there in a sense of lust or covetousness. All wealth is the product of the human mind. Gold is a real substance, but it is valuable only because we agree that it is. It wasn't hamburger and potatoes that made millions for the founder of McDonald's. It was the idea of fast food. Money itself is also neutral, neither good nor bad. You can raise a cathedral with money. You can build a death camp with it. What you do with it is up to you. You don't believe that people with love will love or appreciate you unless you buy things or pay their way. You have to prove your own love by spending money on them. You're waiting for, wishing for, or planning on the big fix. It's going to clear your problems away and make everything better. You're going to get a raise, make a big sale, receive a gift from your grandmother, pick up the annual bonus, make a killing in the market, sell your stamp collection, receive an inheritance, graduate and go to work, sell the movie rights, win an insurance case, bring in an oil well. The big fix rarely arrives. If it does, it doesn't fix anything at all. The money is either already owed or it's just buying a little more time. Sooner or later, you end up in the same place again. You refuse to spend money. You let go of it only under duress or when absolutely necessary. How can that lead to debt? You've got to be a free-willing spender to become a debtor, right? You have to be propelled by a sense of entitlement, grandiosity, or one of the other gushers, don't you? How in God's name can you go into debt when you're hanging on to every dime as if it were the last morsel of food on earth? Easy. Let's look behind this clenched fist syndrome. If you ate the last morsel of food on earth, what would happen? There would be no more food left and you would starve to death. But as long as you hang on to what you've got, there's still one more meal left to you. The underlying perception is there is not enough for you. This is siege mentality, a bomb shelter vision. You have to survive on whatever supplies you now have. Nothing more will come in. This leads inevitably to feelings of impoverishment and deprivation. And nearly as inevitably, those feelings lead to under-earning and debt. Like begets like, and when you expect the worst, you eliminate the alternatives. Anorectic spending, with its underlying siege mentality, strips the happiness and pleasure from your life piece by piece until there is nearly none left. Without happiness and pleasure, you grow even more despairing and fearful and cling all the more tightly to the money you do have left. Increasingly, this blocks the flow of new money into your life. Money is not static. It needs open channels through which to flow. Everyone knows women don't have the head for money. Most make a great meatloaf, but they couldn't add 2 and 2 together if their life depended on it. Is there anyone out there who still buys that? Refutation should be unnecessary, but for those who'd like an example or two, my agent is a woman, so is the best accountants I know, and so are a lot of portfolio managers on Wall Street. However, there's a new contemporary version of this that goes, I, as a woman, was never taught about money. Therefore, I can't handle money. And therefore, runs the result you go into debt. Scarcely anyone in this country was taught about money, about their personal money. I'm a special case. This is all well and good for other people, but you're different. It's impossible for you to avoid debt or to get out because of a unique situation, set of circumstances. You at Mussine are different because you're an actor, small business owner, consultant, ski instructor, secretary, jack of all trades, clergyman, graduate student, writer, or because you're old, young, Black, Hispanic, a woman, a genius, a slow learner, in a wheelchair, frightened, contentious, ignorant, self-made, inexperienced, a specialist, or too beautiful, homely, tall, short, fat, thin, loved, unloved. Anyone can come up with the reason why he or she is different, why he or she can't avoid debt or get out of it. The point is you have a reason. But no matter how exotic your situation, there are others who share it who do not have a debt problem. Your son is buying his first house. Your brother's down on his luck. Your best friend is between jobs. Your elderly parents are living on fixed income. They need your help. Not only is it moral to help them, but you want to help them. So even though you can't afford to, you give them money because you want to, because you think you ought to, because you believe they'll suffer if you don't, or that they can't make it without you. You do this even when you have to take out a loan yourself to make it possible. Your motivation is kind, generous, and unimpeachable. But when you're carrying heavy debts yourself, when money is tight, that is not generosity, but a self-destructive act. If you're financially responsible for children or others, the single most important thing you can do for them is to create financial soundness for yourself. You remain consistently underemployed or under-earning. You've told yourself you're incapable of doing anything more difficult or demanding than what you already have. Monsters in the night. These are night stalkers. They're boogeymen. You don't name them. You won't allow them into your conscious thoughts, but they're nevertheless haunting your dreams and patrolling the borders of your life, keeping money out and away from you. You're afraid of success. This is startlingly common. You feel that you can't handle the increased responsibility success would bring. You're afraid of failure. You cannot tolerate failure. Therefore, you never put yourself in a situation where that's possible. You globalize failure, seeing it not as a single incident, but as a pattern throughout your life. I never win. I never get what I want. Always mess it up. Nothing ever works for me. You see failure as a condemnation. You're a perfectionist. You're afraid of independence. You don't want to be autonomous and self-reliant. If you are, then what will happen if something really big hits you and you can't handle it? Do you see yourself reflected in this chapter? If you did, it's not surprising. I found myself here. So did every one of the hundreds of people in debt with whom I've spoken over the last 18 years. and the hundreds of thousands more who've worked their way free with this program over the past decade and a half. The first clear look at what's really been going on in your subconscious can be a shock. You might feel dismal or depressed, or you might tell yourself it's hopeless. It isn't. In fact, seeing yourself here is the best thing that could have happened. It's a quantum leap in awareness of how you got into debt. Without such awareness, there can be no change. Chapter 5, the concepts of change. Right now, you're perfectly all right. Right now, at this very moment, you have a roof over your head, clothes to wear, food to eat. So right now, today, you're perfectly all right. You have everything you need. You don't lack for anything essential. Simplistic? No. Simple? Yes. Right now, today, you're perfectly all right. You have everything you need. There is an anchor stone. Take a minute to do the following. Close your eyes. Breathe deeply a couple of times. Relax your body and clear your mind. Ground yourself in this day, which is where you belong. It's not yesterday. It's not tomorrow. It is today. Picture the roof over your head. Today, at this moment, you are not living out in the elements. Visualize the clothes you're wearing. See the clothes that are in your closet, in your bureau drawer. Realize that today, right now, you do have clothes to wear. Now, picture what you had for breakfast, what you had for lunch and dinner. Connect with this. You have had and you do have all the food you need today. Consider that and know this to be absolutely true. Right now, today, you have a place to live, clothes to wear, and food to eat. Yesterday's gone. Tomorrow isn't here yet. All that is real ever is today. And right now, today, you are perfectly all right. You have everything you need. It's good to go through this process every morning, shortly after you wake, before you get out of bed. Sit for a minute or two, close your eyes, and visualize these things. It's a great way to start your day knowing that you're perfectly all right and you have everything you need. Focus on today. Right now, today is where you live. And right now, today, you are perfectly all right. You are not your bank balance. You are not the sum of your debts. Your debts may have become objects of obsession. If that has happened, they're poisoning your life, sucking the color out of your days, haunting your sleep. Your creditors do not own you. You owe them money, not your life. Your primary responsibility is to yourself, not to anything or anyone else. You are fundamentally deserving of and entitled to as much happiness as any other person on this planet. Paradoxically, the more you begin to live for yourself again, and the more you claim your rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, which are not simply legal rights, but your birthright, then the more quickly, as a result of your new vision approach to life, money will begin to flow to you. The more effectively you manage the money you already have, and the more rapidly you liquidate your debts. You're not living for your creditors. This is your life. This is your life, not theirs. You're eating, breathing, talking, loving, and living right now. This is your life, not a rehearsal. Life doesn't begin after you've paid off your creditors. This is it now. Your emotions are simply that, emotions. They are not facts. They are not evidence of the way things really are. They are, in fact, little more than reflections of your own thoughts and perceptions. You may, for example, feel that your problems are overwhelming and hopeless, but that doesn't mean they are overwhelming and helpless. When a negative emotion sweeps over you, don't try to repress it or crush it by brute force of will. That's not very effective. Instead, acknowledge that it's there and allow yourself to feel it for a minute or two. Remind yourself several times every day that your feelings are not facts. Debt is nothing but a temporary situation. You're going to pay each and every one of your creditors in full, and you'll do it comfortably without depriving yourself. You're going to live the rest of your life in prosperity and abundance and free of debt forever. You are the cavalry, and the cavalry has already arrived. No matter how pressured or impoverished you perceive yourself to be, realize that you have much, much more in your life that is good and pleasurable right now than you've led yourself to believe. Yesterday's gone. Tomorrow isn't here yet. It makes no difference what you did last week, last month, last year. That's history. Nor does it matter what's going to happen next week, next month, next year. No one knows that. All that is real is today. Keep your focus, your thoughts, your emotions in today. Keep them in the now, and right now, today, you are perfectly all right. Chapter 6, laying the foundation. The rewards you'll win by working this program are enormous, far beyond your capacity even to imagine at this moment. The improvements in the quality of your life will be remarkable, just as they have been for me and everyone else. It is absolutely necessary to accept that you have a debting problem, but alone in a quiet place, surrender. Do it now. You have a debting problem. It has caused a lot of pain and trouble in your life. To give something up in favor of something else. It is simply letting go of an old way of doing things in order to embrace a new one. Denial is the refusal to admit you have a problem. At the end of 9 months, he'd gone through the emergency grants his performers unions had given him. There were no process of work. He had no money for rent, hardly enough for food, and creditors were threatening to haul him into court. His face was anguished. His body seemed to be collapsing. I'm beaten, he said. I've had it. I've been trying to play the angles. I figured you people had the problem, not me. I was only here to take a scan and pick up a quick fix. It's over. I'm finished. My way doesn't work. He surrendered that night, which he had never done before. That was 8 months ago. This time he worked the program. The turnaround began with surrender to the fact that you have a debting problem. Denial can be as lethal as surrender as a bullet. To combat denial, 1, freely admit it's here. 2, reread chapters 1-5. 3, remember you're not unique in having a debt problem. 4, drive home to yourself that surrender doesn't sentence you to poverty and a hard life, just the opposite. It's your first step on a road to freedom from that. And 5, proceed as if you didn't have any denial. Don't let it sidetrack you from your purpose. Denial is simply that, denial. It can't force you to do anything. Sometimes denial goes dormant for a while, only to pop up again later. It often reappears when you've begun to reverse your situation, the stress is easing, or simultaneously with a large influx of money from whatever source. If denial does resurface later and you're tempted to say thanks and so long, return to the section and go through the diffusing procedures once more. Bankruptcy is not an option. Did you howl with shock and indignation when you read that? Some people do. Bankruptcy has been their ace in the hole. When it's really Alamo time, when the enemy's finally breached the wall and is charging for the kill, they plan to bail out through bankruptcy. Zap, all your debts are wiped out with one stroke and you can start over with a fresh slate. Easy, pretty damn practical too, right? Wrong. Bankruptcy is just another version of the big fix. And like all the rest, it won't fix anything either. It'll buy you a little more time, that's all. Sooner or later, and usually much sooner, you'll end up in exactly the same kind of problem you were in before. The recidivism rate among people who declare personal bankruptcy, those who repeat it, now stands at higher than 50% and continues to climb. With one exception, bankruptcy is not an option for these reasons. 1, it does nothing to alter the beliefs and behaviors that are the cause of the debting problem. 2, it generally leads to a sense of failure, shame, and defeat, which only escalates the debting syndrome. 3, it plagues your credit record for 10 years, which may cause you difficulty later on when in fact life may truly be going well for you. And 4, it encourages you to think that if things get tough, you can always go that route again, which can destroy your opportunity to liberate yourself from debt and live free of it forever. There is a further reason too for many people. They see bankruptcy as cheating the individuals and institutions who loan them money in a good faith business arrangement out of the return of their money. So if you've been thinking of bankruptcy as an escape hatch, put it out of your mind. It doesn't work, not for anyone with a debting problem. Starting today, right now, give yourself 30 days worry-free from debt. You're entitled to this. The best thing you can do right now is to give yourself rest. Give yourself respite and sanctuary, free from worry about your debts. Here's how you do it. Sit quietly for a moment, get comfortable, close your eyes, take a couple of deep, easy breaths, and relax. Let your mind go wandering through your house or apartment. What you're looking for is the friendliest container you can find. It should be one with which you have happy associations, one that gives you immediate feelings of well-being the moment your mind's eye falls upon it. It might be a tackle box, a hat box, or a box of old family photographs, or any similar thing. Have you found it? Good. Open your eyes, get up and go get that box from where it is. Bring it to your desk and set it down. Sit with it for a minute and think about all the good memories attached to it. Now gather up every bill, past due notice, and threatening communication from each of your creditors. Get them all, every one of them. Once you've done that, open your friendly container, place all the bills, notices, and letters inside of it. Close the container, bring it back to wherever it was, and put it away. Now, forget about those bills and notices for the next 30 days. This is important. Truly forget about them. They don't exist. Be firm, remain calm and polite. No matter how you may feel inside, do not say anything else. Do not agree to anything. As soon as you hang up, write the creditor's name and date of the call on a piece of paper. That's it. Have the best 30 days you possibly can. You deserve them. One day, just for today, one day, do not incur any new debt. Not one. Don't charge anything on your credit card. Chapter 7, the heart of it. One day at a time. Congratulations, you didn't go one penny further into debt yesterday. You proved to yourself that it's possible not to incur a new debt for one day. This is the threshold. Just for today, you're not going into any new debt. Just for today, do not incur any new debt. You cannot get out of debt by borrowing more money. Miracles are commonplace in this program. All you have to do is begin your recovery and open the door to total freedom is avoid taking on new debt today. I just do it today. It's vital to keep this principle firmly in mind. Tomorrow is irrelevant. It's one day at a time. And just for today, for one day, you don't debt. Right now, say the following to yourself. Say it out loud if you're alone, or silently if there are others around. Say it 3 times. Say it forcefully and with as much conviction and belief as you can muster. Countless others have already freed themselves from debt. I am just the same as them. I can do it too. I am doing it. I am doing it now. 2 more times. Countless others have already freed themselves from debt. I am just the same as them. I can do it too. I am doing it. I am doing it now. Countless others have already freed themselves from debt. I am just the same as them. I can do it too. I am doing it. I am doing it now. For the next month, sit quietly for a few moments before you become involved with your activities of your day and reaffirm this. Repeat it strongly to yourself 3 times out loud if you can. And at any time in the future you find yourself wavering on this point, return to the practice each morning for a week or 2. Most of what passes for pride and ego actually stems from a belief or fear that you're not really worth very much, that you're a fake and barely able to hold things together. The deeper these are, the more mightily you strive to prove to yourself and the world that the opposite is true. Actually, respect, approval, and admiration, even friendship and love, are given much more frequently to people who are confident and secure in their personal finances, who are solvent and who've stopped debting, than there are to those who aren't and who haven't. This has been demonstrated repeatedly in my life and the lives of others who work the Back to Black program. As you progress, you'll be operating out of the steadily increasing income. Review the necessity of each expenditure and do it with scrupulous honesty. Cash a check or take money out of your savings account, even if it's the last money in there. Brown bag your lunch to work instead of buying it. Empty the container into which you toss your change. For most people, this gives them an extra $20 to $200. Liquidate an asset such as a stock certificate or bond, even if you take a loss on it. Order something. Offer to babysit your neighbor's child for one night if they'll babysit yours tonight. Sell some personal possessions. Collect a debt owed to you. Collect payment on outstanding bill owed to you. Collect back salary. Cancel an order and reclaim your deposit. Go through your suits, jackets, pants, and dresses in your closet and through your wallets and purses. This often turns up $10 to $100. Stay home and watch TV instead of going out to a movie. Take a bus instead of a cab. Sit down and write out your own list. Let your imagination run free. You'll quickly discover that one idea triggers another. Don't limit yourself to the familiar and the obvious. Be as wild and improbable as you can. Remember, you're hurdling old mental barricades and breaking out into the open. Chapter 8, a tool nearly as good as the wheel. We devoted the last chapter to a single idea, not debting, one day at a time, in order to stress its crucial importance. For the same reason, we're going to spend this chapter on a single tool. A tool is an implement or practical device you use to accomplish a job. In this case, the job is to achieve solvency. The spending record is an enormously powerful tool, though its full value may not be apparent to you at first glance. It's so vital that without it, most attempts to bring debting to a halt will end in futility. Like not debting one day at a time, the spending record is a key factor in recovery. Clarity about your money is essential. You need to know where it's going before you can even begin to make effective changes. That may sound obvious, but it's not. This financial fog, this cloud of unknowing, is catastrophic. It leads almost invariably to new debt. So long as you remain ignorant, you remain in the dark, blind, and helpless. The spending record is not a budget. It's not a set of goals or guidelines. It's simply a record of the money you actually do spend. It allows you to see, possibly the first time, where your money is going. Initial reactions to the spending record breaks pretty consistently into 3 camps. About a third respond with immediate enthusiasm and plunge right in. Another third are lukewarm, even reluctant, but are willing to give it a try. And the final third are either angry or frightened and don't want anything to do with it. Anger is usually a form of denial. The sheer fact of keeping a spending record carries with it an implied admission that you're in trouble with debt. Refusing to keep it serves your denial. You may have a problem, but I don't. Fear is usually nothing more than a form of denial. The spending record is a powerful tool. It's also vital. Without it, you're unlikely to liberate yourself from debt. I've never known anyone who did. I've known several who tried and failed. Chapter 9, getting stronger. The devil you know is much better than the devil you don't. It's time now to make a complete list of your debts and creditors. You have to know what you're working with before you can work with it. Make your debt list on a pad of paper. Place the name of the creditor on the left, the amount you owe on the right. Include institutional loans, checking overdraft, credit cards, department store cards, education loans, personal loans, services rendered that didn't you pay up front, rent, utilities, income taxes, property taxes. Chapter 12, stabilizing. Increasing your income is often a good idea. Does that sound like a ridiculous thing to say? It isn't. True satisfaction in life rarely comes from money itself. Jim makes $40,000 a year, but consistently spends $45,000, borrowing and going even deeper into debt. His debts are a constant source of pressure, pain, and unhappiness. If his salary jumps to $80,000 next year, he will almost inevitably begin to spend $90,000, borrowing, going even deeper into debt. The behavior patterns that resulted from his distorted attitudes about money and self, which led him into debt in the first place, are still wholly intact. So an increase in income is not in itself a solution to debt, nor in many cases is it even necessary. This is not to say that such an increase isn't desirable. On the contrary, I and practically everyone else I know who works the Back to Black program find it very desirable. After all, this, as has been stated, is a program of prosperity and abundance, and money is definitely a part of that. But change isn't always easy. This program is tough sometimes, and old attitudes and old behaviors die hard. There's no fault in falling down. The fault lies in not getting up. So you screwed up. The world didn't end. Start over again. It happens, but it doesn't have to happen. Just for today, this one day, don't incur any debt. And this time, go straight through to freedom. Chapter 13, a new mode. As may be apparent already, what we're after in this program is nothing less than a major shift in consciousness, in the attitudes, periods, and ideas you have about yourself and your money. You can succeed without such a shift. If you use nothing but the practical techniques and strategies in this book, you'll still bring your debting to a halt and eventually pay off all your creditors. But without a shift in consciousness, you'll have a harder time of it. You'll deprive yourself of a great deal of emotional and material gain, and you may well get into trouble again. Real fixes take place from within, not from without. Nothing external from stardom or a winning lottery ticket is going to make yourself any better. The self is an internal image who you perceive yourself to be, a composite of your thoughts and beliefs. If that self doesn't change, then you will continue to act and feel just as you did before. And in time, regardless of circumstances, you will produce exactly the same results you did before. In this context, a decline into debt. If you think, I can't change my consciousness, then you won't change it. And once again, what you think, your perceptions and attitudes will have created your reality. You can't create a result without taking an action. Wishing never made anything so. The difference between those who get what they wish for and those who don't is action. Taking action is what makes the difference in these cases, with what always makes the difference. Does that mean taking action always works? No, not at all. Some actions are more effective than others. Some end up dead in the water. The point is, you can't get results without them. Every action you take is a complete success regardless of the results. In fact, the results don't matter at all. This may be difficult to grasp at first. Why bother if the results don't matter? Because there can't be any results if you don't. I have no control over the result. It is vital to understand the separation of action from results. Since you are powerless over the results, since you can never control them, you are liberated from ever having to worry or become anxious about them again. This is no small thing. It is the very concern over results, usually played out in an imagined negative scenario, that inhibits most of us from taking action in the first place. Thus, paradoxically, we eliminate any possibility of a positive result because of our fear of a negative result. We never achieve what we desire because we don't take the action that might turn that desire into reality. Fix this in your mind. Each action you take is a total success. To breathe serene is to be calm and tranquil, to be free of fear, and to feel a sense of well-being. 3 excellent ways to cultivate serenity are physical exercise, meditation, and prayer. When you start to grow agitated over a task or situation, stop. Take a couple of deep breaths. Recognize that what you've begun to do is attach a whole baggage train of significant consequences to it. Worry and fret never swayed a single decision in your favor or paid off a penny of your debt. Neither did fear, despair, or raking yourself over the coals. All they've ever done is make you unhappier. So what's the point? Go to a movie, have dinner with a friend, listen to music, read a book, enjoy yourself. Everyone experiences fear. Courage is nothing more than following through on an action despite that fear. In any given situation, act as if you weren't afraid, as if you didn't doubt yourself, as if you didn't have to blow the project, as if you were the best candidate for the job. Frequently, we are who we pretend to be. In time, if you observe the external practices, act as if, then belief will overcome your own doubts. Chapter 15, Through a Glass Clearly. When people under pressure from debt think of something they'd like to do or to have, their next thought, almost instantaneous, is frequently, I can't afford that. This is depressing and leads to living with a constant sense of impoverishment and restriction, which generally leads to further debting. You can afford more than you think you can. In truth, there's nothing that you have to do with your money. For the most part, it's not that you can't afford something, but rather you can choose to spend the money in other ways. I do want to stress the value of recognizing that you have a large number of options with your money right now today. Once you recognize that you always have choices in the ways you spend your money, that you are constantly choosing, you'll begin to make more pleasing and satisfying choices. So early on, before we could even begin to understand what such statements meant, we accepted such distortions. Life is tough. I'm not worth much. Money is evil. You have to suffer to get ahead. It's immoral to have things when others are starving, and the rest. We then proceeded to feel, live, and behave according to these beliefs, which were not a set of universal truths, but simply the distorted judgments and opinions of others programmed into our subconscious. This negative programming has a crippling and destructive effect upon us. We need to counteract it. One of the most effective ways to do that is to take control of the process ourselves through the use of affirmations. To affirm something is to declare it positively or firmly to maintain that it is true. The word derives from the Latin affirmare, which means to fix in place, to make solid, to make strong or healthy. An affirmation is a strong positive thought you implant in your subconscious with the intention of producing a healthy change in your attitudes and perceptions. Here is the best way to work with them. Divide a sheet of paper in half lengthwise by drawing a line down the middle. Write the positive affirmation on the left. As soon as you do, jot down on the right the first thought that comes to mind. This response column is important. It allows your subconscious to raise all the objections it wants to get the junk out of its system. Write the affirmation 5 times in the first person, I, then 5 times in the second person using your own name, then 5 times in the third person using your own name. Here are a few affirmations people have used to strong effect. I have everything I need to get everything I want. More money comes into me every day. Each day I get further and further out of debt. The universe now brings me all the prosperity I need. I handle money easily and well. Abundance is my true state of being. My success is big, powerful, and irresistible. The universe is total abundance. I now have more than enough money to satisfy all my needs and desires. The more I win, the better I feel about letting others win. Money is my friend. It's okay for me to exceed my goals. The more I prosper, the more I have to share with others. I am now ready to accept all the joy and prosperity life has to offer me. If you had a strong negative reaction to any of these, found them irrational, absurd, or even horrifying, then they are precisely the ones you should start working with. A powerful negative response usually means that a given affirmation is colliding head-on with its opposite, with a distorted belief that's deeply entrenched in your subconscious, and those are the ones you most need to root out. You can create your own affirmations too, tailoring them to specific needs. First, identify the negative statement. For example, I always get nervous and flustered when demands are placed on me. Then reverse it into an opposite, being careful to use positive language. Don't phrase it in a way that seems positive. I never get nervous or flustered when demands are placed on me isn't very helpful. It contains negative words and elements of struggle and denial. Negative statement. I always get nervous and flustered when demands are placed on me. Affirmation. Challenges always bring out the best in me. Or the more others ask of me, the happier and more confident I become. Everything that is made or done by man first comes into being in thought. Visualization is a potent tool. Psychology, theoretical physics, and metaphysics all document its effectiveness and offer reasoned theories as to why it works. The technique is simple and remains the same whether you wish to acquire object, succeed at a project, or affect a change in your internal or external life. Let's say, for example, what you want is a dining room table. Form a mental picture of the table you would like to have. See yourself already in the possession of the table. See its shape, its color, see the way the light glances off of it. When you feel a visualization is complete, end it with a silent affirmation. An effective one is, this or something better now enters my life in a total satisfying and harmonious way, and I appreciate it, and I am pleased by it. There are no limitations. Visualization can be applied to anything you want to have, be, or do. The degree of success you'll have with it depends on three elements: one, desire; two, belief; three, acceptance. Chapter 16, Getting Out, Part 1. A repayment plan is just that, a plan for paying off your debts. A crucial point to make here is repayment is not to be made at the expense of the quality of your own life. That would defeat the central thrust of this program and possibly cause a relapse into new debting. It's time to add a new category to your spending plan: debt repayment. The amount you can assign to it is irrelevant at this stage, even if it's only $5 a month. Payments nearly always start small. In fact, many people make none at all against any of their debts for several months. It is absolutely necessary to stabilize first, to be sure that expenses do not exceed income, and develop a reasonable spending plan. So long as you remain honest and stick to your purpose, no one can force you to pay them more than you can actually afford to pay. Get out your spending plan and the complete list of your debts, the one you put together earlier. Find a comfortable place, like a chair, place a calculator, pad of paper, and a pencil at hand. Relax now. 1, consult your spending plan. 2, list all your creditors and the amount you owe each one. 3, add up your debt. 4, use your calculator to determine each creditor's share or percentage of the total. What matters here is that you have completely reversed your situation, now getting out of debt instead of into debt. This is a stunning achievement. This point is so important that we're going to make it a separate topic. If all you can reasonably pay towards your debt is $1 a month, then that is enough. Any embarrassment or discomfort you feel about that stems from a false pride, from a fear of what your creditors will think of you, how they might insult you or threaten you, and from all distorted attitudes and perceptions. For now, if all you can pay towards your debt is $1 a month, then that is enough. You've broken the debting cycle. One step at a time, you're moving towards total freedom. In the case of outrageous interest, it's best to adjust your repayment plan in a manner that will reduce the principal on that particular debt the most quickly. Most people discover in the course of their recovery that changed circumstances now allow them to repay more each month than their repayment plan calls for. Chapter 17, Part 2, Getting Out of Debt. You've begun to turn your life around. You feel strong, good, filled with self-esteem. It's time now to negotiate with your creditors. Some people panic at this point. There's no reason to. Take a couple of deep breaths, relax, consider what you've already done, how far you've come. Honesty is essential with yourself and with your creditors. Without it, there is no real improvement in your life. Take the initiative, make contact. When you get in touch with them, you're taking action and establishing a record of good faith. If you wish, be candid with your creditor about what happened to you and what you finally came to understand about your situation. Tell him that you have undertaken a financial recovery plan. Inform him of your membership in a support group. Show him this book. Share your spending and repayment plans with him if you feel that's appropriate or helpful. Some people can't bring themselves to do this. Others can. Those who can have found that it has a positive effect on their creditors. A simple business transaction. Keep firmly in mind that you're not in an inferior position when you negotiate with the creditor, regardless of any emotions you may have to the contrary. What you are is one of two parties in a simple business transaction. You both want the same thing. You want the money to be repaid. All that's under discussion is the best way to do that. You know clearly what's possible for you and what isn't. Your job is to convey that information to your creditor. Some institutions will grant you a moratorium, a temporary suspension of payments for 3 to 6 months if you need one, and explain your problem clearly. Why would a creditor be willing to do this? Because it serves their self-interest. They don't want to see a default. They want their money back. It's generally best to avoid a consolidation loan, but if you do consider one, then do so carefully with a clear picture of how much you can actually afford to repay each month. Be wary of agencies. Many are neither counseling organizations nor nonprofits in any but a technical sense. Many are predators and some just a notch above fraudulent. Possible advantages of dealing with an agency: immediate help, an experienced advocate. You deal with one person, write one check, a reduction or even end to interest, and a possible waiver of penalties. In most cases, you're out of debt in 36 months. Disadvantages are little real counseling. Agencies won't work with anyone. Some people are simply advised to declare bankruptcy. The standard repayment schedule is 36 months, which is often too brutal on the debtor. Agencies don't deal with personal creditors. deprives you of the opportunity to learn and accomplish, to reshape your relationship with money into something truly positive. Looks no better to a lender on your credit report than does having worked things out with your creditors yourself. May not give you enough information for you to know clearly what is happening and be sure your best interests are being served. The most critical disadvantage is the failure to address why people get into trouble with debt in the first place, and provide workable techniques through which to bring about change. As a result, many people get right back into trouble with debt again soon after they finish the agency program. If you do decide to work with one of these organizations, here are 10 steps you can take to protect yourself. 1, be alert and aware. 2, use common sense. 3, check for complaints against the agency with your Better Business Bureau. 4, get a written statement that breaks your monthly payment down into principal and interest. 5, get a statement of all fees you will be paying. 6, insist on a monthly statement that shows exactly what your remaining balances are. 7, monitor your account. 8, be sure the agency is dealing with all your creditors. 9, know how many months it will take to liquidate your debt completely. 10, take adult responsibility for yourself in the relationship. For some debtors, working with such an agency might bring relief, but for a lasting solution in a life with a real possibility of prosperity and abundance, anyone with a long history of recurring debt will need to undertake a comprehensive program of recovery from debting, whether he works with an agency or not. Keep a log of every contact you have with the creditor. Knowing precisely what you've discussed previously will minimize confusion and uncertainty in the future. This log can also be a powerful asset in the event a creditor brings legal action against you. As you make the full payment on any debt, no matter how small or insignificant that debt seemed, write it down. Enter the name of your former creditor, the original amount of the debt, and the debt you paid it off. There are no monsters, only problems which can be dealt with and resolved. Despite the store's repeated protests, her payments were accepted and no action was taken against her. If you choose this route, keep the following points in mind. 1, regardless of the amount of principal you pay, be sure to pay the complete finance charge each month. 2, be reliable. Send the amount you told the creditor you would send and send it on time. 3, stay in touch with the creditor on a regular basis. If you do end up with a bad credit report, which is by no means certain, regardless of what your credits tell you, about the worst that will happen is that you'll be unable to get any new credit cards or charge accounts, which is irrelevant since you don't debt anymore. But I won't be able to buy a car if I don't have a good credit report. That's not true. You might have to do a little shopping among dealers or banks, but even people who have declared bankruptcy can get a car loan without much trouble. Remember, a car is a first-rate collateral. However, things aren't impossible with a bad credit record, just more difficult, at least for people in recovery. For people who aren't, a bad credit record can be a serious challenge and liability. The key here is to be proactive. Tell whoever is about to request your credit report what she will find in it. Tell her before she finds it. HALT is an acronym. Don't get too hungry, too angry, too lonely, or too tired. It's corny, but it works. If things seem impossible, take another look around at what you own. Sometimes it's simply a matter of perception. Is that a prized possession, or is it a valuable asset? Saving money for a rating day is a bad idea. Surprised? Many of us were taught early on that we better sock money away towards catastrophe or for our old age. But that kind of saving has destructive consequences. It builds a poverty mentality. It tells you that there's too much now. There's not much now, and that there will be even less in the future. People who put all their money away towards catastrophe live in an increasing fear of catastrophe. That very fear is likely to create such an event. Investing has nothing to do with get-rich-quick schemes or making a killing in the market. It's putting money to work for you rather than working for it safely and in ways that will bring you a return that exceeds the rate of inflation. Putting up collateral to secure a loan you need in order to meet expenses without debting can make a crucial difference when you're still in the process of stabilizing, and sometimes later on too, particularly among self-employed people or others whose income may be erratic. At any point, it's vital to do whatever it needs to be done to avoid new debt. However, it's best not to use a secure loan simply to cover your basic needs. If that is at all possible, it's better to cut expenses, generate additional income, or sell something outright. Here are 4 basic steps you can take to reestablish a good record. You'll need a year or 2 to rebuild your record to the point where there's a prospective employer or lender will begin to look upon it favorably. 1, Begin rebuilding on foundation of genuine recovery. Belonging to a support group is helpful. 2, be timely with all your payments. Don't be late with or miss even a single one. Late or missed payments can destroy a credit record. 3, obtain a secured credit card. This involves placing an amount of money on deposit with the issuing bank, usually $300 to $2,500. The bank then gives you a Visa or MasterCard, which looks just like an unsecured card and which can be used in the same way, except that you charge only on it up to the amount you have on deposit, the security. When the bill arrives, pay it in full or pay the minimum required or a bit more. Once you have a secured card, use it. Make a small purchase or two every month or every other month and pay the bill or at least the minimum required as soon as it arrives. Simply having a card won't help your credit record. It is the steady paying each month according to terms that employers or lenders look for. After a year of timely payments, request that the issuer convert your card into a standard unsecured version. How can you secure unsecured card yourself? By depositing into a special savings account or an envelope at home enough money to cover the total you charged or intend to, or even better, by giving it over for safekeeping to your confidant ally. 4, create a second source of credit. Paying one lender according to terms is helpful. Paying two is better. Finally, in closing on this topic, avoid commercial services that claim they will rebuild your credit for a price. They won't or can't. Most are little more than hustles, and even the best of them, which isn't saying much, can't do anything more for you than you can do for yourself. Specialties, Chapter 20. The vacuum principle is an extension of the concept of letting go, of releasing your grip upon something, of ceasing to cling to it, of allowing it to leave your life. It is more aggressive than simply letting go. In practicing it, you create a vacuum, an empty space in your life by deliberately divesting yourself of something that is old, unwarranted, or inferior. You do this in order to keep room for something new and more desirable to enter. If you choose to work with it, it's best to begin on a small scale. In and out in 24 hours. You permit no bill to sit on your desk for more than 24 hours. Even if you have a $75 left in a bill for 60 arrives, you pay it immediately. What precisely do you want? One of the biggest impediments to getting what you want in life is not knowing what it is. It's hard to plan a trip when you don't know where you wish to go. You need a clear idea of your destination before you have any reasonable hope of arriving there. Sit down with a pen and paper. Across the top of the page, write, if I could be, do, or have anything I want. And beneath it, list the following categories: work, money, lifestyle, relationships, creative self-expression, leisure, and personal growth and education. Make each category a heading, and under each heading, write out a paragraph or two that would describe your ideal scene if you could be and do or have anything you want. Let go of all your inhibitions. Another approach is to make a list of 100. Again, be as fanciful as you wish, but list only things that you would truly like to be, do, or have, not things that you think you ought to. The lists might look something like this: 100 things I would like to be, 100 things I would like to do, 100 things I would like to have. Some people have trouble with this, fearing they'll only feel worse if they point out to themselves all the things they'd like to have that they don't have. But that's a spurious fear. Your subconscious already knows what you want. You've just been hiding it from yourself. An impressive number of your entries will appear in your life in short order once you clarify to yourself what it is that you really want. If you have trouble writing out the lists or scenes at first, just keep at them. Try them every 2 weeks. The more fun you have with the process, the more benefit you'll get from it. It's not supposed to be work. Targeting. Set up 5-year goals, then 1-year goals, then 1-month goals. Here, list 5-year goals that you'd like to achieve in the next 30 days that would act in support of your 1-year goals. Make a list of your creditors and figure out what percentage of your total debt represents the amount you owe each. Learn the names of a half dozen individuals or schools that offer courses in Italian. Meet someone new who might be pleasant to go out with, and then set your 1-week goals. A final point about goals is they are not something you have to achieve. A goal should not be a lash on your back, nor a mechanism of potential failure. Rather, it should be a signpost to help you keep on track. A good discipline is to begin practice receiving. When you're given anything at all, from a compliment to money, as graciously as you can, to refrain from saying anything more than thank you. This requires strength and discipline of some people at first. There is a great stream that is at once both giving and receiving. The inability to practice either cuts off the flow of that stream, and without it, life is drier, less hospitable and satisfying, and prosperity and plenitude have a harder time taking root. Spirituality, connection with what you understand the life force to be, is a powerful agent of centering, of peace, of serenity, of affecting internal change. There are many ways to cultivate spirituality, everything from quiet walks through the countryside to meditation and formal prayer. How you do it is less important than that you do it. Spirituality is a tremendous resource, a deep well of strength and comfort. Be still and open yourself up to what is. Staying out, chapter 22. It's nice to be debt-free or on your way to freedom. Remember how it was when you couldn't think about anything else, how it sucked the color out of your life and poisoned your day? You don't want to go back to that. You don't want to forget how you got there, how it felt, and start the whole sad story over again. You want to stay out of debt. Here's how you do it. The 3 cardinal rules. 1, don't debt, 1 day at a time. 2, keep the spending record scrupulously. 3, adhere closely to your spending plan. Use this book. Back to the Black is a living program, not a theory. It works to the degree that you're willing to work it. The more conscious you become of the advertising pressure to debt, the more you see it for what it is, the easier it will be to resist. Sensitize yourself to the money at times you're invited, urged, and prompted to use credit every day. Make a game of it. At intervals, keep score for a day or a week or on a piece of paper. Listen to the radio ads, the television ads. Look at the ads in your newspaper. Staying at part 2. The following principles are true for everyone who works the Back to Black program, but they're largely a matter of discernment. Like optical illusions, you won't see them until you begin to search for them. They're there. All you have to do is look. The money comes in. When you're committed not to incur new debt and you practice the principles of this program, they're always enough. The money comes in. How? I don't know precisely, and I don't think anyone else does either. It has to do with the combined impact of each of the various parts of the program. If the commitment not to incur new debt is unconditional, and the program has worked, the money comes in. I've never seen anyone with a total commitment not to debt have to debt. The money comes in, there is always enough. A commitment not to debt shifts you, whether that was your intention or not, into a life of increasing options and alternatives, where as time passes and you gain experience, you begin to understand that there are very few limits except those that you impose on yourself. As you take positive action, positive results appear. Opportunity doesn't knock once. It's pounding on the door, tearing off the roof, kicking in the windows all the time. It's a matter of perspective of being willing and ready to see it. With few exceptions, the most successful people are those who do what they most enjoy or what's most meaningful to them. If you hate your job or bored with it, you're not likely to make money at it in the long run. With few exceptions, the people who are the most successful and happiest in their lives also do what they most enjoy and what is the most meaningful to them, whether that involves flying commercial airlines from coast to coast, or fixing outboard motors in the North Woods. Prosperity is a condition of thriving, of steady improvement. Abundance is a plentiful supply, more than sufficient. Book recommendations. 1 Minute Wisdom, Anthony DeMello. The Richest Men in Babylon, George Clayson. How to Meditate, Lawrence Lishan.